Hello everyone, welcome back to Angela's Craft Room. Today we're going to show you how I made this 4-panel card. Now this is for a 90th birthday, but it all goes the same way together. With this particular one, I used one of the new Stampin' Up stamp sets called Dandelion Wishes, which is becoming one of my favourites. It can be used for all sorts of occasions. So with this particular card, I like, because it's a 90th, I like to put that on the inside as well as at the back. So the reason being is when the person gets it, they can see the front of it, and when it is standing like that, which is that side, you can see it when it's standing as well. So it's on the outside and it's also on the inside. So also another thing is with this particular card, so it's nice and sturdy when it's standing, I like to put panels on each section at the back as well. So, and this is a piece of Very Vanilla that I pop on there, so there's plenty of room for the sentiment to be written. Or you could even type up your message on a piece of vellum paper and pop that on there if you didn't want to handwrite it. And the DSP on this particular one is Nature's Poem. It's one of the new DSPs for 2018 from Stampin' Up. So that's that one. But today I'm going to recreate the fold for you, but I'm going to be using this stamp set, which is another new one from Stampin' Up called Little Elephant. And you can actually get the Little Elephant Builder Punch to go with it if you like, which I found really great because I punched out the elephants and made it so much easier. It's just really up to you. So to start with, what I start with is a piece of 12-inch by 5.5-inch cardstock. This is craft cardstock, and this is just really the base because you're going to put a lot of layers on it, so it doesn't really matter. I don't carry very much 12 by 12 because I use the A4 size. So yeah, so then what I did was, just to save a bit of time, I have pre-done it for you, but what I did then, on the 12-inch side, I scored at 4 1/4 inches, 7 3/4 of an inch, and 11 1/4 inches. And then what I did was turned it round and brought in my trimmer because I needed to cut it. And then I just lined it up at that 1/2 inch there. And then you just put your cutter down here at the 4 1/4 inch score line. So you would just line it up there, but you would use your cutter, and then from there you just cut straight up. So that's why I've already cut off that piece there, okay? And then you put it over to the 3/4 of an inch mark there, and then the score line right at the top here, which is the 11 1/4 of an inch score line, you're going to bring your cutter down to there and just take it to the top, right? And then you're just going to get a pair of scissors and just cut off that little piece there, and then you're left with that. Okay, and then it's just a matter of bringing that in like that, and then you're left with that. So I've got one here already done, but what I want to do is just make sure it's standing the way I want it to. So I'm just going to burnish those, fold that in, like that, and we've got that so far. Now we need to add the flap on the front so that we can have our 4 panels. So I've just got another piece of craft cardstock which measures 4 1/4 inches by 2 3/4 of an inch, and we're just going to apply on this flap where we scored at the 11 1/4 inch. We're just going to apply the tear and tape. I'm just going to put 2 pieces down there. I wouldn't recommend using anything but tear and tape, but you need a very strong adhesive because you don't want your card not holding together and falling apart. So then we're just going to take that tear and tape off, and we're going to apply this piece to it. And once it goes down, it's not going to come up when you use tear and tape. So make sure you get right in that corner. And you will have like a fold line there, but that's going to get covered. So that's basically how I start off with my... I'm going to give you the measurements of everything as I go. So that's the 4 card, okay? So what I like to do the back first. So on the back we're going to start, I'm using basic grey cardstock. So we need 2 of whatever colour you're using, of 3 1/4 of an inch by 4 3/4 of an inch. So we need 2 of those because we're going to glue them there. And then we need another piece of the cardstock you're using, 4 inches by 5 1/4, and that's going to go on that piece there. And then I've got my small piece which measures 4 by 2 1/2 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and glue those on. And I have already stamped my panels for the front, so you didn't have to watch me create that, but I have got a few tips and I will give you all the measurements as we go. So this is starting on the back first with my basic grey. And then this is our first piece. It's 3 1/4 inches by 4 3/4 of an inch, and we've got 2 of these to glue down. So that one goes, just try and get it as level as you can with each panel as you go. Because they're different heights, I just try and line up at the bottom so it looks nice and neat. And then this one as well, which is the same size, 3 1/4 inches by 4 3/4. So then we're going to just pop this one down. Like that. And then our last piece is 4 inches by 2 1/2. And I'm going to be, because this is the piece that I said that I put it, whatever I put on this, I put it on the front and the back. So whether it's open or closed, whatever is on this piece can be seen, and you'll see why I want that as I go through and design this layout for you. So that's going to make it nice and sturdy, having that basic grey cardstock on. And then what I'm going to do is I've got some DSP from the Animal Expedition DSP, which is one of the new ones for 2018. This one has hippos on that side, but I'm using the basic grey sort of colour on that side. So this is 3 3/4 by 2 1/4, and that is DSP. And that is going to go on this piece that is at the back, but when it's closed it will be the front. So I'm just going to put that on there like that. And then I've cut out, using my layering squares, I've stamped the greeting, on a piece of Very Vanilla, and I've cut it out using my layering squares framelits. And then I've cut out another piece that's just a little bit bigger. I'm using Melon Mambo cardstock. So what I will do, I'm just going to pop this up on dimensionals. So just grab a bit of this dimensional on the side, because it's good to use up the dimensional border. Oh, that didn't come off very well. Rather than waste it once you've used all your dimensionals, that's another tip for you. Just use these borders. You just need to cut them as you need them. And I'm just going to pop that one in there. And just take off the backs of that. So we've nearly finished the back already. So then I'm just going to pop that on there, just center it as well as you can. Okay, so then I'm just going to take some glue and adhere that to that back panel, but when it's closed it becomes the front. I know it's a bit confusing, but you'll see what I mean. Now I'm going to put a little one that I stamped the little elephant out. I stamped it in Melon Mambo, and then I used that builder punch to punch him out. And then I think I might just pop a couple of dimensionals on the back of him as well. So I'm sorry if I go off camera. All I'm doing is cutting some dimensionals. So you're really not missing anything important. And we might just put a little bit on the other leg. Just a little bit of dimensional off the border there. So then we're just going to pop him down about there, just so he's straight, then press down. And then I have a piece of Very Vanilla, which is 3 inches by 4.5. Let's get that out of the way. And it's up to you what panel you glue it onto, but I like to leave a space and then put the panel at the next one. So that's 3 inches by 4.5, and I just need to glue that down, and that's the back finished. And I'll show you when folded how this back panel here becomes the front. So I'm just going to pop that down there. And then you can write on this, or you can type up on a piece of vellum and adhere that. So that's the back of the card done. And then, as I said, when it closes, this becomes the front. So we're going to decorate inside. So when I've decorated this panel, you're going to see similar to what's on the front to inside. Okay, so then we're going to grab, I've got it all cut out here ready to go. So this is 4 inches by 2.5, and we're just going to glue that down. And I've just gone ahead and stamped and cut out, and I have done a bit of sponging, which I'll show you on the other panels shortly. But I thought by going ahead and doing it a little bit, the video won't go super too long, because it's not a straightforward card, but a lot of it is in the design and how you're doing it as well. Okay, so we'll just do each panel as we go. So then I've got a piece of DSP, which is 3 3/4 by 2 1/4, and you could use snail if you want to. I like to use Tombow glue because, as I keep telling you, if I don't get it down completely straight, I can always move it. So that's the inside. Let's make sure that's glued down. And then we're going to just put some dimensionals on the back. Of the Very Vanilla. It's a good way to use up these scraps as well with your dimensionals. Just need to try and get that back off, and then I'm just going to pop that on there. And then I've cut out this time a piece of old olive to go on as the backing colour to my Very Vanilla. And I'll just pop that on a bit crooked. And lucky, lucky, lucky. There we go, it's better. So then we want to pop that up there somewhere, and we're going to pop this down, and I thought I could put dimensional on this one. I've stamped in Melon Mambo. Yep, so this one And I've just dropped that one. It's all good. It'll only take me a second to pick it up. So I'm just adding a bit of glue to this one. And maybe I just was a bit overzealous there with my glue. So just grab the cotton bud and like that. So I'm just going to pop him down. So I've got Tombow glue on the back of him, so I can move him a little bit until I get him in the position I want him in. And while I'm there, I will glue down the sentiment. So I'm going to put this about in the center as much as I can. Just moving that so it's straight. So just press that down a little bit. So I've used the same sentiment inside. Then I'm just going to grab this little elephant that I dropped. I do apologise for that. And just open up another packet of dimensionals, just a bit quicker. Sorry, I opened up a mini dimensional, which I wanted the normal size ones. So we're just going to pop a couple, as in two, on the back of this fellow. Now they have to be quite close together so they aren't seen from the front of the elephant. And then what I'm going to do is actually just layer it a little bit. Try and get it straight as possible. And pop that down. I can see this is going to be one of my favourite stamp sets for my children's cards. So you can see already, like from the front, we've got Celebrate Your Big Day, and then when they open, it's Celebrate Your Big Day with the elephants as well. So my next one, I've just got 3 more panels to do. So then my next one is a piece of basic grey which measures 4 3/4 of an inch by 3 1/4. And then we're going to pop that down there. And I'm just trying to level the bottom here. That's the best way with the different heights. If your bottom is level, all is good. Then I'm going to put another piece of DSP which measures 4 1/2 by 3 inches. And then I have my panel, which I'll show you. I have sponged it and stamped it and punched out the elephant. I love these cards because, especially with the punches, they just make it so much easier. So that goes on there. And then I have I have this panel to go on here. So what I did was I used my Eclipse masking tape, which I've showed you before, and I put it on my grid paper, and I just put a piece of Eclipse masking tape across the top and the bottom, and I sponged it using my sponge brayer with one of the new stamp sets. I love this one. If you want a really soft background, this is it for you. This is soft sea foam, and it's becoming one of my favorites. And I punched out the elephant with I stamped it in Melon Mambo, and then I punched it out, and then I stamped my little bird in Melon Mambo and did my hearts in Melon Mambo. And then before you glue your elephant down, just see where you want to position your balloons, which I've stamped in Old Olive, and then you just get his trunk just underneath the strings of the ribbon. And then you can just glue your elephant down and it positions wonderfully. And there's a lot of other different things that you can have coming from his trunk. It is a very good children's card. So now we're just going to pop this piece down, and we've only got 2 panels to go. So this is going to be a lovely children's card for someone. So like that. And then our next piece is a piece of basic grey, which is 4 3/4 of an inch by 3 1/4 of an inch. And we're going to apply that. So it's the same size as the previous panel that I did for you. So we're just going to pop that down, and I'm just going to try and level the bottom once again up with the panel here. Not worrying too much about the top, because if you get the bottom panel sort of lined up with the previous one at the bottom, you should be good to go. Then I have a piece of Very Vanilla, which was 4 1/2 inches by 3, and I've already stamped the sentiment there. That actually came from a different stamp set. It came from the Special Celebration stamp set, which has an awful lot of good sentiments there. Now with this piece, I'll just put the card to the side for a minute, because with this piece I also have some DSP, which is different design, but it is from the Animal Expedition DSP. And I'll just grab my grid paper there, and we're just going to glue. Now these pieces are 3 inches by 1 inch, and I'm just going to glue 1 to the top and 1 to the bottom. Just to add something different to the card. Thing is, when you're making these different multi-panel cards, you must make sure that everything's going to flow. So I would suggest you stamp and cut everything out and lay it on your card before you're putting it together. The same as the tri-fold shutter cards that I've done in the past. So this is again 3 inches by 1 inch, and I'm just going to pop that down the bottom. And you can see what a lovely border that makes. And it just sets the sentiment off rather than just having the sentiment stamped. So I'm just going to turn that round so I can move that right down to the bottom edge. So then bring back in your card, and we're going to just adhere that to the third panel. So there is a lot of pieces to this card, but once you get to know, it's a good idea to write them down in a journal. Now I'm just trying to line this DSP up with the DSP in the previous panel, just so I can get it as straight as possible. And that's got just another sentiment on there for you. And then we've just got to do the last one, which I'll bring in my piece of basic grey, which is 5 1/4 by 4 inches. And I'm just going to pop that down. And don't worry about some of the card going off. I'm just showing you the panel I'm working on, and then I'll show you the completed card. And then we have a piece of DSP which measures 5 inches by 3 3/4 inch. So just as you're watching this video, just jot down the measurements if you need them. You can always just do the base card and do your own measurements. And then we're just going to pop that piece of DSP down on our last panel. I hope the video hasn't gone too long for you, but I have tried to go as fast as I can. Now this last piece of Very Vanilla, I did the same thing with the Eclipse masking tape, masking off the top and bottom. And then I cut out the little elephant. I stamped the flowers either side, and then I worked out where the little umbrella needed to go from just under his trunk. And then I stamped a series of the hearts just in the melon mambo, and everything else is stamped in the old olive. So I'm just going to glue that down. So just So this piece of Very Vanilla measures 4 inches by 3 1/4, just for those that like the measurements. And I'm just going to center it. So, you don't have to follow these measurements. I haven't gone down by 1/4 inch. I've just put the size there that I wanted, just to fit my scene in. And I wanted to show the DSP a bit more than on previous panels. Okay, so there we go. That's that card finished. So it is a bit bulky, because if you're posting it, you might want to not put the dimensionals under the elephants, but I think it would still fit in an envelope that you could post if you wanted to. So that's the front when they receive the card, and that's what you see when it's standing up in this position, is that elephant and all the scenes and the sentiments. And then on the back of course you've got this piece that they see from the front as well, and then you've got your very vanilla piece that you can write on. So I hope you like that card. I really enjoy making this card. It's just a bit different. So that was for a 90th birthday that I had to do, and I thought I'd do one and show you how I did this fun fold card today. And it's just a 4-panel card, and that's the elephants. So that's the card for today. Thank you for joining me, and I really appreciate you subscribing to my channel. Until next time, happy crafting.